Okay, so today we have Donovan Rich on the podcast. Don is someone that I have admired, and what I really love about Don, aside from like all the success and everything that everyone talks about, his awesome radio voice and sales sales ninja, really what I really like about him is that every time I've spoken with Don, he could be going through just the fire, but there's always a joke. There's always like laughter. There's like, I don't know how he does it, but this man, every time I speak to him, he's like, I got 9 closings. Like I got, it's like always like chaos, right? Of just business and, just doing things in business. And so what I want to learn is, how do you keep this joy and this yeah, I would say just like this inner joy, even when you're going through the fire, because there are people that maybe it's not business always, maybe it's other parts of your life that just aren't going the way that you want it to go, and they're not able to cultivate the joy that you do. And so that's one of the things I really wanted to learn from you.
Well, thank you first and foremost for that and for recognizing that in me. I certainly appreciate it. And, I guess the short answer to that is laughter and like internal joy, even laughing at myself, at finding something to laugh at brings me inner peace, inner joy, inner happiness. Cause like I have a wide range sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Some good, some dark, but it's uh, it's still that part. If I have nothing else, if like I'm literally going through the fire and everything feels like it's going against me, I know that little bit of laughter is going to brighten up my mood. It's going to, the smile in and of itself is going to put my mental and subconscious mind in a different state and lets me know that, hey, don't take yourself so serious.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take the things that are going around you so serious. In this life that we have to live, and that we get to live, that we get to live. Let me put it in those words. Once you start to take yourself too serious, it doesn't become fun anymore. And you live in a subconscious state of anxiety, of worry, of stress. And that's not the way that God meant for us to live. There's
Right.
several instances in the Bible where it talks about living with joy and having the joy of the Lord. And for me, if no matter what I'm going through, if I can find that little bit of joy in whatever it is that I'm going through, then I know at the end of the day, it's all going to be all right. It's all going to be all right. And it helps me cope with the realness of what might actually be going on, the adversities that I might be facing at the time. So, no matter what,
You're back.
yeah, I was having a little bit of a connection issue. I know we in my office, man, we have multiple people in here. I work out of a Regis office, and so yeah, our internet's kind of
That's
not
fine. To
not
what you
not
were
as not
saying,
the best.
to what you were saying about the joy and just kind of having some laughter, right? And so
Yeah,
this is a one instance, right, of different
right.
things that you have to go through. And so how do you cultivate joy with other people? Because you every time you're like on the phone or something, you always I'm like, how does this man always have a joke like in his mind? I don't know how he does it.
Well, so you take your sense of humor, and no matter what somebody else is going through, you try to find something to laugh with them about at that situation. It's what I do or I do, and I teach my team to do on foreclosure calls, because these
Mm,
these are people that are going through like the worst of the worst.
right.
So it's like it's your job. It's your job at that moment to get on the same side of the table as them and be some type of brightness, of light that they can look at and be like, man, you know what? It's not all bad. It's not all bad. And so, for me, if I can have that opportunity to be that light for somebody else. And it's like, look, man, we're all going through stuff that sucks. All right. Some of us going through stuff that sucks a little bit worse than others. But at the end of the day, it'll be over with. Okay. At some point, it's going to be over with. And so it's up to you at this point to say, okay, I'm going to spend that day, that time, however long it lasts, being, the darkness in my own life. I'm gonna be like, you know what? I got to smile about it because I'm not going to let this get me down. And so being able to be that for somebody else not only brings me internal joy, but it makes me feel good to be like, okay, they were having a horrible day. And even if it's just for this 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, and they might go back into their sunken place after that. But for this little bit of time, I'm going to get this person to smile. I'm going to get them to see the brightest part of their day right here when they're talking with me.
I love that. How can you talk about some of maybe your mistakes or when you have been down
Yeah.
and maybe what you've learned from that? And it could be with business or anything, right? But what's some of the ways that you've gotten out of those things?
So the biggest, I'll go back to this. It's actually very simple for me to pull up because it's been a transformation that I've been making in my life over the past year and a half, 2 years now. And I'd say more or less year and a half, but it has been my biggest fault. And to that, I'm glad I went through it, was wearing masks.
Hmm.
Okay. And I joined whenever I got into Collective Genius at the first meetup that we went to. There was a young lady by the name of Annie Atch who got up and spoke at the hot shoot. She had to do a hot seat, and she got up and spoke. And Annie spoke to my soul, all right, with the things that she was talking about how the subconscious mind and making connections and things like that. And so I got with her after when we had a breakout, a little breakout from our hot seats. And it was an instant connection. And I learned that, she was a part of a company called SEAL Team Leaders, and they helped people, business entrepreneurs with different things. And as we began to speak more and more, I ended up joining SEAL Team Leaders with them and going through basically a trauma release, is what I call it, program.
Mm.
And what I learned about myself through all of that was that I had become extremely good because of different traumas that had occurred, growing up in elementary and adolescence, at home, and different things like that. I had become extremely good at wearing masks for people. And I took on the mindset of, I'm not who you think I am. As a matter of fact, I'm not even who I think I am. I am who I think you think I am. And because of that, I could go and easily make connections with anybody, but they were pseudo connections sometimes. Not all of them were genuine connections with people. It was me being who I thought they needed me to be, or who I thought they thought I was at that time. And so, you could be in a room and I could work the room, no problem, and be talking to a person, and they would form a connection with me, and I would make them feel like I formed a connection with them, but it might not have been true the whole time.
Mm.
And then I might meet this person, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, and I not remember half the stuff that we had talked about at that time because I wasn't being my true, authentic self. And that caused a lot of trauma in my life, even at that point. And it caused lost friendships. It caused bad business relationships, simply because I was being who I thought they wanted me to be and not who I am. And so now I know that, true connections are made through authenticity, vulnerability, and trust. And so being able to just sit here today and speak that to you, if you're one of those people that, and you're watching this, that I formed one of those pseudo connections with, reach back out to me to learn the true me. Because at that time I was not right. All right. And I had to learn to get right. And I had to learn that about myself in order to make sure that going forward, that the connections that I do make with people are genuine connections, are true connections that are built with vulnerabilities, starting with myself, so that I can open up to you and you can open up to me, and that we can both be vulnerable together. And so that was one of my biggest mistakes, was living like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, like I said, it caused horrible connections with people. It caused lost business relationships. It caused me to be somebody that I truly was not. And even though I had the success and the accolades that came along with it from a business aspect, I had to chase those things in order to keep up with the image of who I said I was to certain people. So that caused a whole bunch of stress in my life. It's like, you're having to keep up with being who you said you are. And while it did provide, financial success and things like that, mentally, it broke me down. And I didn't know how much it broke me down until I went out to Utah and I got with Annie and Larry and our weekly sessions and things that we were having, and even got my wife into it as well, and recognized, that I have a desired end state in life. I have an obligation in life. I have things that I have to say no to. And I can live and be comfortable without wearing any masks and showing people who I truly am. And if they like me, they like me. And if they don't, they don't. Either way, I have inner peace of knowing that I don't have to go out here and do or be something that I'm not.
Love that. And how do you know that you're truly being vulnerable with people? Is it scary every time? I mean, the reason I ask is because for men, I feel like it's very hard to be vulnerable sometimes, I feel, for certain men,
Right.
because it's like you have to have your guard up, and just, I think they really want to be very strong.
That's your ego having your guard up. Okay.
Mm,
That's your ego having your guard up. That's not you. That's your ego trying to protect whatever it is that you've told yourself that you are, or other people have told you that you are, and you're trying to stand up to that and to that image. Okay. There's two voices that are speaking to you at all times, your spiritual voice or your egotistical voice. And you have to learn how to kick one of them out the room. And a lot of the times when men can't be vulnerable, it is because it is their ego that is disallowing them from being vulnerable. But when you listen to the voice of your spirit, then being vulnerable is not hard, because you're not worried about the judgment that may come along with it. And you understand that all of us have gone through some things. All of us are going through some things. And maybe if I just tell my story to somebody else, they will now have the courage to open up for themselves and kick ego out the window and be able to speak with me about it. And then we can converse and form a genuine and true connection. And for me, it kind of came simple because I was an alcoholic. So that's one of the things that I can just now relate to people, is my story of becoming, being an alcoholic and then coming out of it. And I'm now on May 30th coming up on 3 years of sobriety.
amazing.
And thank you, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But starting there, and then like transitioning over to the fact that I used to wear masks, because here's the thing, at some point, all of us have worn some type of mask.
Yeah.
And that's something that we can all relate to. So with me telling my story and saying, hey, not only did I wear them, I had one for every day of the week, for every person, for every situation, for every event, for everything. Now that allows them to open up more and be like, well, hell, man, I got one in my back pocket right now that I'm willing to put on at any point when I see that it's necessary for me to put it on, and being able to let them know, like, man, you don't have to put that on. You open up and you're vulnerable with somebody first. You are now giving them permission to remove any mask that they might have come to the table with. And you're giving them permission to put ego aside. You're giving them permission to be truly who they are, because you opened up with who you are. And now they're like, well, man, I got a couple skeletons back here that I wasn't going to bring to the table. I didn't want you to know about those because I didn't know that you were bringing your skeletons and laying them out on the table. So now that I know that yours are out on the table, I feel a whole lot more comfortable that I'm not going to be judged and I'm not going to be looked upon in a different way. And now the ability to live life like that going forward. Like, there were some people that after I got through with Utah, I had to call them and apologize man to man and say, hey, I screwed up. This was on me, that our relationship isn't what it used to be. And I apologize. And I'm not just apologize, I'm sorry for that. And I'm a better person. And if you don't want to talk to me anymore, I completely understand. But I just want to let you know that I've forgiven myself, and now I'm asking you for forgiveness as well.
Yeah, there's a humility to that because a lot of people can't acknowledge when they've done things wrong. And they would rather just avoid those types of conversations and never have to ask for forgiveness. So, kudos to you for, even being able to do that because it is a very vulnerable state to be in when, you've messed up in one way or another.
Absolutely.
So, what would you say for people that are starting in business or have been in business but are constantly striving for some of the things that you talked about, like that notoriety, those accolades, the success they've made, they want to make millions of dollars, and but they might be forgetting some of the other things that they probably already have. And so, as someone that has achieved a lot of success, a lot of financial success, what would you tell someone starting off, like to not forget about certain things, or I'm not sure, but what would you say to someone like that?
First, I would tell them to one, really define what success is to you. So at one point in life, at a point where I was wearing a lot of masks, success came, in the form of notoriety or in the form of quote unquote some type of pseudo fame, in the form of financial, well-being. And now success is a daily optimized experience made sustainable over time. So at the end of the day, how do I want to feel? At the end of the day, what is my desired end state? And for me, I want to feel wholesome. I want to feel wholesome with my wife. I want to feel wholesome with my kids, with my parents, with my employees, with my business partners, all of that. I want to feel wholesome. And if at the end of every day, I can get to a point where I have achieved that feeling of wholesomeness, then I'm already successful. Everything that comes on top of it, whether it's, getting houses, whether it's selling houses, whether it's opening up new stuff, doing new businesses, whatever that looks like, is just a cherry on top. And so with that being the case, I'm not chasing something that doesn't have a finish line.
Mm.
Because once you get caught and stuck on tying success to tangible things, there's never end point. You're always going to feel like you're not doing enough, you're not there. And if you need a better representation of that, just read the book The Gap and the Gain. It gives you a great representation of that. And so with that being the case, tying success to a daily optimized experience made sustainable over time, meaning that I can come and make this feeling happen to me every day, allows me to not worry as much what I haven't gotten, what I haven't attained, what notoriety I do or do not have. My wife loves me, kids love me, my employees love me. Do I love me? Do I feel good with the person that I am right now? And can I go out and face anybody and not have to worry like, oh, what is this person thinking of me? Or, hey, what was my interaction like with this person the last time? Do I remember what I said, who I said, any of that? I don't have to do that. And to me, if you are starting out in business and you can block all that other stuff out and really just focus on what you want your desired end state to be, then once you realize that you don't have to put it to something attainable, something tangible, but more or less to a desired end state and feeling inside, you're already on the right path. The next thing I would say is to use your language carefully. Okay. Language, and what I mean by that is language is probably one of the most important tools that us as humans, Homo sapiens, have that allow us to coordinate action together in order to achieve a desired end state together. And so, like in my company, we have an open policy where, like, we might be describing something or talking about something and discussing something, and we want to make sure that we use language correctly. So all of us at any point have the ability to say, Now, what did you hear me say? Okay. And the reason behind that is because we want to make sure that we are communicating effectively with one another and that there are no drops in communication or no misrepresentation on what a person might have said and what they actually meant. And so the only way to do that is learning and understanding that in order for someone to know what you said or what you meant, it's up to you to make sure that they understood.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go in and you ask them, what did you hear me say? You know, there might have been times where you might have been arguing with your husband and he might have said something that he heard you say, and you might say, I didn't say that.
Right.
But that's what he heard. And so who's to blame here on what he heard? Is it him or is it you? In that sense, if you're using language correctly and you're being careful with the language that you utilize, you realize that that's your fault because you may not have gone through and followed through to make sure that they understood what you were trying to communicate effectively. So define what success is to you, learn to communicate effectively, and then find somebody who's already doing it and who's actually doing it still constantly and follow the blueprint. You know, you don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Like
Right.
there are very, very few inventions that were one-off inventions or first to market inventions. You know, the one I think of the most is the telephone with Alexander Graham Bell. You know, before then, nobody had a telephone. You know, there was no such thing about it. But after that, now we've had several different renditions of it. You know, we went from corded phones to cordless phones to the bag cell phones to now, you know, we got computers right here in our hand. And so follow the blueprint of someone who's already done it. And then lastly, I guess to that, I would say that business has no scholarships. All right.
Mm.
You're either going to pay with your time, money, or both. And the moment that you're trying to find yourself like skipping class or something like that, you're gonna come across failures that you didn't have to come across. And if you're trying to do it on your own and not get the help of anybody, just so you can say, hey, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps or whatever it is that you want to say there, you're probably going to pay with a lot of time and a lot of money.
Right.
You know, you get a mentor, you're going to pay with some money, but it's going to shorten the time. It's going to shorten the time for you. But business has no scholarships, so just be prepared to pay.
Mm. And wouldn't you say anything that is worth, hate to say achieve, but that's all I could think of, like worth having, um, you have to pay for it, right? So this could go for, you want to have a good marriage, right? You need to pay.
Right.
And that might not be something, money wise, but you have to pay in time. You have to pay in effort. And so how have you dealt with all these different things that you've learned within the last few years? While you're growing, so I feel like you've been growing so exponentially, so quickly financially. How does that affect your personal life and with your family, with your spouse? Um, how do you deal with all that, right? Because there is, I mean, it's gonna do something, right? So
Right.
what advice would you give for people that are growing like that?
So I am still on the journey of learning how to balance. You know,
Right.
like and I may have used the wrong word there because honestly, to me, there is no true work-life balance. Okay, there's going to be time that you spend at home that you dedicate to your home life. There's going to be time that you dedicate to your business life, and there's going to be times that both of them are upset with you. Okay, the business is going to show that it's upset with you in different ways than your wife is going to show that that she's upset with you, or your husband that he's upset with you. They both show that they're upset in different ways. All right, but at the same time, once you understand, okay, one of them's upset, then you also recognize I have to make a change really quickly. okay, I've been spending too much time on my business over here, and I haven't been spending enough time over here with my spouse. My business is growing the way that I needed to. I'm putting people in the right seats in order to be able to get my time back to spend more time with my family. Or, man, the business is taking a decline because I was trying to, mend everything at home, but home also has to understand that we don't have the quality of life that we have without the business. So I
Right.
just got to explain to you that, hey, in order for us to keep living the way that we're living, I have to go and put some more attention and time over here. And I understand that at some point you're going to get a little upset with that, and I'm going to be paying attention, but I need you to be on my side. I need you to be by my side. I need you to understand that I'm doing this and working as hard as I am right now for us, so that we're not on the typical American plan of retire at 67 and wait for the government to take care of us. That we retire at 45 if we want to, 40 if we want to, and go off and live the life that we want to live, because by that time our kids are now, at the point where they're almost getting into preteen, some of them, and older, and spending time with us is not as important to them anymore. And that's for our time to be able to go and traverse the world together and do the things that we need to do, that we built up. And I used to be in the insurance world, deep into the insurance world, and I'll tell you, one thing that I heard the most is that the golden years are not so golden. They're more bronze, maybe even copper, and because by that time, if you have not done the things to take care of yourself and you've worked yourself to death building somebody else's dream, well, now your body is deteriorating. Your health is going down the drain. And so this time that they tell you to put all of your money and max out your 401k every month and do this and do that, just go read a Susie Orman book if you want to, or what's his name? I don't even remember his name, but Pace makes fun of him all the time. Just go and follow those dreams if that's what you want to do. But that's not the life that I want to have. It's not the life that I want to build. I want to enjoy, all the good things that God has put on this earth while I'm still young and able to enjoy them. And so that comes with understanding that there is no real balance to it in my eyes, but set proper intentions. Set proper intentions. Intend to do these things in my business. I intend to be this type of husband. I intend to be this type of father. I intend to be this type of person. And your true intentions will be shown in the spirit that you put behind them. And so my wife, yes, she might get upset, but she sees the things that I'm doing. The business might have some ups and downs, but my intentions around my employees and the people that work for us and that help the machine run, they understand, okay, Don's having to give more time over here right now. We have to step up. We have to make sure that it's still running correctly and doing the things that it needs to do in order for all of us to achieve what we want to achieve. So I would say the biggest part of that is making sure that you have a very good paradigm shift in your mind, your conscious, your subconscious, and your higher consciousness behind the intentions that you put both in family life and business life.
And talking about the conscious and the subconscious, so what have you done to change your subconscious? Because I remember you telling me like 90 something % of your actions are based off your subconscious. And so, most of us, I hadn't even heard about the subconscious until last year. So, how have you dealt with that, and how have you been able to change that?
For me, it was one, getting rid of ego. And as I've told you before, ego in my world, different things to different people, but ego is edging God out. Okay. And I know that everything that manifests in the material world begins in the spiritual. And so the biggest part of me was, one, I had to reconnect, and not that I ever lost connection. It was just one of those things where I didn't call as often as I should, or I only called when I needed something.
Right.
And
I think we can all relate.
Right. Right. And God had to give me a wake up call and said, hey, there's so much more to be thankful for rather than just calling me when you need something, son. And that was a big beginning of it for me, and recognizing that that little voice that I hear in my head is my true one connection to God, and that is my subconscious mind that is also speaking to me from a spiritual aspect of things, and that I need to stop listening more to the world and start listening more to the internal side of it. But a big part of that as well is recognizing that from the time that you are born, and this goes back to caveman time, the job of the subconscious mind is to keep you alive. Okay, is to keep you alive. And the very first time that you experience trauma in your life and you don't die, now your subconscious mind changes to, oh man, we got to make sure that we don't do that anymore. That we don't do that anymore. And so at that point, your subconscious mind thinks it's there to just protect you from every trauma that you might perceive as a trauma. And so I had to recognize that that's how the subconscious mind works, first and foremost. And then secondly, help rid myself of the things that I perceived as a trauma that had happened in my life, and realize that it wasn't a trauma. You know, every event that has happened to me in my life has provided me the absolute clarity necessary to walk my path of truth. And with knowing and recognizing and understanding that, I also started to understand that, okay, since everything is not a trauma and I don't have to be scared, now I can rewire my subconscious mind to start looking for the betterment, the better side of things, and to start feeding it the positive side of things, and start to express gratitude a whole lot more. And so that was a big part of it for me, was recognizing that if I'm being grateful and I'm showing gratitude, then I cannot simultaneously be anxious and and worrying about anything.
I love that you're talking about this because whenever I get stressed out or just like things are just not going the way I want to, I try to sit back and think about things that I'm grateful for. And it could be like my bed, like
Right. Right.
but like whatever it is. But I feel like you know, for people like you and me that are, I think, always wanting more, like,
Yeah.
whether, I don't know if it's a flaw or a defect, but or if it's just the way we're wired, it's like
Right.
I don't think that I don't think that God made us to just, want everything small. And I'm like, he's so massive. It would
Right.
only make sense that you want to do something huge with your life, right? But there is that disconnect of gratitude. And so,
Mhm.
do you just like every day think about something you're great? Like, how do you cultivate gratitude for someone that is always wanting more? And
So I've worked on this tremendously. First and foremost, every day, and I do this before I go to bed at night, I look up a 10 to 15-minute prayer on a YouTube video that is about gratitude.
mm,
And when I wake up at 4:30, 4:45 in the morning, I know they tell you not to look at your screen and things like that whenever you wake up, but I already have it ready to go. Okay, I already have whatever video that is ready to go. So the first 10 to 15 minutes of my day are spent in gratitude. I'm
mm,
starting out my day being thankful. And while that video is playing, I typically have some like wraparound headphones or something that are close to me. So at that exact point, while I'm listening to all of the things that these prayers and these videos are saying, it's allowing me to take a mental, checklist of all the little things that I'm grateful for. And then there's this quote that was said that kind of stuck in my head. What if you woke up tomorrow and the only things that you had were the things that you thanked God for today? And it makes you start to think about all of the things that you don't say thank you for,
mhm,
that are just so minute that in the grand scheme of things, they may be a dot on the picture, but they still made it onto the easel. And so it's like, okay, I still got to be thankful for those things, because what if I didn't have that? What would the ripple effect be in my life of not having this little thing? And so at that point, it's like you just find yourself mentally all day long of being in a continuous state of gratitude. And when you're in a continuous state of gratitude, do you know how easy it is to smile? Going back to where we were starting from at the beginning, and when you're in a continuous state of gratitude, do you know how easy it is to give that energy off to somebody else who might be going through something, who might think at that time that there's nothing to be thankful for, who might not see that, whatever it is that they're going through is for the greater goodness of their life and to bring them closer to God's kingdom. And if you start to be able to put that into somebody's life and be that pillar that someone doesn't have, and just let it be expressed from you, because people can tell your energy. They can feel it. They can feel your energy. Okay. And so if you have the ability to always be in a continuous state of gratitude and give that off, you have no choice but to brighten the day of those around you. And on top of that, your worrying, your anxiety, your stress, all of it starts to subdue. And you find yourself starting to thank God in the midst of your trial, because you know that it's for something bigger. It's not, you're not going through it just to be going through it. You understand that it's to take you to a better place. And so once you start to live life that way every day, which I'm gonna tell you something, it's hard starting out. But just like anything, when you rewire your subconscious to think like that, and that is the automatic form of thinking, well, then it feels uncomfortable thinking any other way. It feels uncomfortable thinking anything negative. You're like, oh man, I got to get that thought out of my head. That's not even my normal way of living life right now. And that's all a part of rewiring your subconscious. And you start to see the goodness in everything, in everybody, in every situation. And then you start to see the compound effect of that in your business. You start to see opportunities. You get calls from people. You're looking at this text message like, how did this person even get my number? And good Lord, they want to do what? They want to be what? Like, I didn't even think about this opportunity. Like, I didn't even know this opportunity was there. It was always there. It was always there, but it was waiting on you to become a person that you're different from, than become somebody different than what you are right now, or who you are right now.
I love that. I love that. And I mean, it's like becoming a leader, and that you are the leader of your home, right? Like your family, the leader of your business. How have you cultivated relationships with other leaders, as friends, in your company, so that they have that same energy that you give out?
Well, for one is giving them permission to be that leader. Some of these people, there's a ton of people that have a lot of leadership capabilities and qualities within them that, don't show it, or don't express it, or don't let it out, simply because they've been waiting on somebody to give them permission to do so. And the moment that you give somebody that permission and the moment you give somebody that permission and have them be able to, go out and fully express the gifts that were blessed, on their lives, then you have a friend for life. You have somebody that, like, that person's going to always remember you, because it's like you gave them the permission to be who they needed to be. You were the catalyst for them to allow them to start being who they needed to be. But the other thing about that is, what you'll notice is that leaders that have that same mindset, and let me preface it with this: I'm still becoming. Okay, I'm nowhere close to arriving. I'm still becoming. But on my journey to becoming, I'm doing the things that I have to do to have the things that I want to have from a leadership standpoint. Like, if you worked for me in the past couple of years and you no longer work for me, it's not your fault. It's my fault. I was not the leader that you needed me to be. And I heard Pace say that one time. He was doing an interview with Carolyn and Myron here in Dallas. And when I heard him say that, it clicked to me. And I was like, I've sucked. As a leader of an organization, I have sucked. And for people that were with me that are no longer with me, it ain't you, it was me. All right. And once you start to be able to recognize that about yourself as well, then you start to recognize who you need to become. And as you're on your path to becoming, you'll start to just notice that, like a magnet, you're automatically gravitating towards other people that are like that as well. It's the law of attraction.
Hmm.
So it's not something that you have to actually just go out and try to actually seek on your own. Just continue getting better and becoming more every day on your own, becoming 1% better every day on your own. And the law of attraction is going to work and bring the people into your lives that are also like that, but it's also going to bring the people into your lives that need that from you.
Hmm.
And that's going to allow your skill set in that area to be A, put to the test, B, cultivated, and C, perfected.
What skill sets do you think that you've had to cultivate as a business owner, as a leader, as a father and a husband, um, to get to at least where you're at now? I know you're still in that process, but I think we all are. I think as long as we're on earth, we're still going to be becoming. I don't think we just like become one thing and then never change.
Never.
But yeah, what skill sets would you say would you attribute to your success?
I would say first, learning that everything in life is an experience. Okay. And the experiences that you have in life are based upon your perception, your intentions, your beliefs, quite a few other things. And that's coming from, the journey that I've been taking with Deepak Chopra, and understanding that everything around us, even something as small as breath, is an experience, because breath can tell you a lot about yourself. If you breathe in shallow, typically if you're breathing shallow like this, something's wrong. You're anxious. There's a health issue. There's something going on. Or are you taking deep breaths? Are you really taking in all that life has for you? And in that sense, that means that, typically you're confident in things, you're happy, you have a lot of good things going for you, you're relaxed, you're in a state of peace. And that's an experience for you that you perceive because of the things that are changing positively in your life. So one is going to be recognizing that everything is an experience and everybody has different experiences, and two people can experience the same thing in different ways. And guess what? Your way or their way may or may not be right. And having that open mindedness to be like, maybe you are right. Maybe I'm the one that's wrong. I don't know. Because our perceptions are having us have these experiences in a different way. We're experiencing the same thing differently. So who knows who's right? The next thing I would say is working on my communication and the use of my language, especially at home. I can have a very sharp tongue, man. Like, just like I can overcome objections on the phone with the seller, I can fire right away at my wife, on certain things, and not just her, with people as well.
Yeah.
And so learning to control my tongue and have a temperament about myself that allows me to try to see things from everybody's perspective and from every situation, and how I utilize my language after that, has been an important aspect of it. And then actively listening. Man, thank you, Steve Train. Uh, actively listening and making sure that you're listening to understand and not listening to respond. Because if you're listening to respond, you're not hearing 4 or 5 of the words that are coming out of that person's mouth. It's just not going to happen at all. But if you are listening to understand, well, then you're trying to get on the same side of the table as people. And you are closing the divide that you might have between you and another person. And, also physical health, like taking care of my temple. I'm in the gym typically by 5:05 or so every morning. And that is for me, some of the most peaceful times that I have, because I'm either listening to the Ed Milet show and filling my mind with positivity there, or I'm listening to Alex Ramosi or somebody else, or Dr. Wayne Dyer, or Deepak, or somebody that's going to put me in the mental state that I have to be in while I am working on the physical state. And so having, the mental, physical, and spiritual all in sync with one another is super important to all aspects of life, especially with reshaping the subconscious. And you just feel like the mirrors, something about the mirrors at the gym. I don't know what they are, but
Oh, the mirrors help.
You feel a whole lot better about yourself.
And I wanted to touch on the perception, because you talk a lot about the masks, right? That you had with yourself, and I think all of us, right? You said everyone has a mask at some point, and so I know you are gonna write a book, if anything, about this, and I want to see it, and so about this, but it touches a lot about who you think of yourself, right? Like, who am I? Right. And that's like the big, and I think that's a question that we ask. And so everyone asks, right? Like, who am I? And that perception of yourself can change over time.
Oh yeah.
How did you change it from, you said, right? You were telling me, I think before we recorded, right, that, I wasn't, it was like I couldn't recognize myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you get back to this? Like, I'm just curious about, how did you get back to this and to like the genuineness of who Don is?
Well, first I needed somebody to tell me and pull me out of the fact that I was wearing masks, because you get in such a rhythm of it that you don't recognize that you're doing, and you do, but it's not until at night when you get home and you're about to take a shower and you walk past that mirror, and for a brief 5 to 10 seconds you have a stare down with yourself. And that stare down is going to be one of two things. It's going to be comfortable because you're like, man, I had a great day. I am who I said I was. I did the things that I said I was going to do. Or you're going to be like, I don't even remember half the stuff I told people today. I don't remember half the stuff that I said that I needed to do. I don't recognize you in this mirror right now. And it's very uncomfortable sitting here staring at me, knowing that the person that's looking at me right now is not the person that I've been today. And I would like to be some of those people, but I'm not at this moment. And because of it, I don't feel good about the person that I'm looking at right now. As a matter of fact, I feel like crap. You'll get to a point where you're either going to live the rest of your life feeling comfortable like that, feeling comfortably uncomfortable in that sense. Obviously you need to be uncomfortable, but not in that sense. Or it's going to bother you enough until you change. And when it bothers you enough that you want to change, then you really go on a soul searching mission for who I am. And what am I supposed to be doing? And who am I supposed to be doing it for? And how many people am I supposed to serve with it? And how can I use the gifts that have been given to me to serve the masses in the best ways that I can serve, And when I look at there's 4 things I believe that Deepak breaks it down to. I is that in which all experience occurs. That's number 1. 2, I is that in which all experience is known, your personal experiences. 3, I is that which transforms itself into all experience. And 4, I is that into which all experience subsides. And so it goes very deep, very, very deep on that. I had to listen to it several times to kind of get the understanding of like, all right, who am I? Okay, since I is that in which all experience occurs, that means that from there, I'm in control of all the experiences in my life. And I'm in control of what it becomes, what those experiences become. Does it become trauma for me, or does it become triumph? And if I have the ability to control that, then I want to make sure that everything that I'm doing is triumph. And so on this journey that I'm still on right now, because it's one that you really don't ever get off. It's one that you don't ever really get off. But on this journey that I'm on right now, it's one where I guess you can say that every day I'm learning something new about the person that I've always been, that I've been hiding.
Mm.
Okay. And so it's like I get to have a new experience every single day, and I get to form connections with people every single day, because now I'm being, my true authentic self fully in everything that I've been doing. And I've been on this path now for a little while now, to be able to be that person. And it's like the connections that you have are better, and people that you would have never thought that you connected with before, you now connect with, because that's been a part of yourself that your ego's been hiding, because it wasn't who other people that you thought they thought something of you, and you wanted to match that thought. So you hid this other part of yourself, and you put on the mask for them that you felt that they wanted to see, even though that might not have been who they wanted to see, or even who they needed to see.
So who were you hiding? I'm just curious.
I guess I'm still on that journey and finding out a little bit, piece by piece by piece by piece by piece. But I was hiding a person that, from what I've discovered up to this point, a person that is truly, truly in love with the Lord, and with my relationship there, and the ability to grow it. I was hiding a person that has way more to give on the mental side of things than I do on showing you sales ability.
Mm-hmm.
I was hiding a person that was not okay with the traumas, and did not understand that I have the ability to change my past by changing my perception of it. And I was hiding a person that felt that I needed to be a people pleaser, or didn't realize that I don't need to be a people pleaser. And that
Oh, interesting. I wouldn't ever think you were a people pleaser. That just wasn't my, I guess, perception.
hey, it's an experience you had. But here's the thing, that might have been because of the personal experience that you've had with me. I've been extremely vulnerable with you outside of this. Like we've had some in-depth conversations. And so with that, you probably had a different experience with me than other people have had. And so you saw genuine parts of me that other people didn't get to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I still saw the sales ninja though. That's for sure. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all, man.
And who are you serving now, right? Because you touched on that about how important that is. And so who are you looking to serve, I guess, now at this point?
I don't think I am searching for, a community of people or anything to serve. I'm just putting an energy out there that's inviting. And if there's something that I can be of service to, or someone that I can be of service to, or a group of people that I can be of service to, from the energy that I'm put out that's inviting them in, then those are the people that I'm serving. Now, that's just overall in life. But in general, like right now, I'm recording, like my digital marketing guy, Thomas, we're recording a ton of videos. So I recently just dropped like a small foreclosure course that we're doing. We're going to do a talking to sellers course, and we're going to be giving all of that away for free. That comes back to the sales ninja side.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just giving that all, giving every bit of that away, because it's like, I've had people give it to me, the different organizations, the different communities that we're in, Sub 2, Collective Genius, a couple others that are just the my guys in the brotherhood. Like we give so much to each other, and it's like, okay, who am I that has, I've paid for in other ways, and I have paid for stuff monetarily, but there's so many other people out there that I can utilize the gifts that have been given to me and give it away to them, because they may not fully grasp it in a way that someone else is trying to tell them, and they may grasp it in a way that I'm trying to explain it. And if I can serve them in that capacity and help them help their families, then fantastic. Fantastic. The other part is that, my guys, Marlon and Kez, they're doing the whole mindset thing. And we obviously talk pretty often on those different things. And so being able to be in service to one another there, and then take the stuff that we know and just go and just have general conversations with people. Like, my favorite thing to do is strike up random conversations with people in the airport. Like, I'm a people watcher. I love people watching, but then the ability to just go and not know somebody and see how well we can connect and how fast we can connect, because we're both just two souls having a human experience here on earth, and to see where we connect in that human experience is something that I enjoy.
I think you have to be an extrovert to really love to just strike up conversation at the airport. But you're not the only person that has told me that. So I think you're probably very true much an extrovert, which would make sense. But okay, the last question I wanted to leave you off on is, what does the vision of your life look like from here on? Like, what is the next thing that you're looking to do? Because it looks like you're doing these courses, you're putting out all these free content, which is great. Because if you don't know Don, I mean, in foreclosures and sales and all the things that you're talking about, like, so good at that. I mean, he's an expert in that. But so that's great. But like, what do you see the vision for your life from, like, at this point?
Honestly, it's going to be, this leading to being on stages, to helping other people that are going through trauma and don't know it, and helping them, stop living in truth, lowercase t, which is an ego-driven truth, a trauma-driven truth, and helping them start living in truth, capital T, which is their God-given truth, and showing them how they can, form better connections with people and change their past through changing their perception of it, the way that I've gotten helped from Annie and Larry. Like, I very much see myself, because of the impact that it's had on my life, doing that for other people. And God gave me an incredible voice to do it with. And so I feel that I would be, having very, very much a shortcoming if I did not utilize it to show people the way.
For sure. It's smooth. I love that for you, because I think it's completely different than at least the version that I know of you, right? So it must have been very transformative for you to want to do that. So I applaud you. Can't wait to see it. And so if anyone wants to get in touch with you, whether it be real estate or trauma related things, right? What would be the best way to reach out?
On my Instagram at drich409, DRICH409. Or you can go on our website, salesjd.com. There's a training section on there, and you can reach out to me for the passcode and stuff for it. But those are going to be the easiest ways to get in touch with me.
Love it. Well, I would certainly get in touch with Don if you are curious about any of the things that he mentioned here. Don is great. I think he's just getting better every day that I talk to him, and that 1%, he really takes it to heart. And so take advantage of it. And we will see more about Don through his Instagram, things like that. He's putting out good content. I think you even have like a podcast or something that you also started, right?
Yeah. And so I'm still working on getting more episodes on that podcast, but it's called "Can You Handle the Truth?" And so
a lot of the truth. This is a big thing with Don here, the truth. Yeah. So anyways, well, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for coming on. And I think a lot of people will benefit from the things that you were mentioning. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you as always.